Hello, my name is Holo, and this is a new Rage Gaming video. The Rise demo is still rolling, and while we've been playing, I've noticed a bunch of cool new mechanics exclusive to Rise. Weapon-specific stuff and otherwise. There's lots of different changes that can be either super useful to know, or a little strange and interesting. Like, for example, did you know the Glaive has a unique and rather strange ability that no other weapon has? By vaulting with the Glaive, we can grab onto any wall and then stick the weapon in as a sort of support beam. And then we just lean on it and kind of hang around. It doesn't cost any stamina to do this, so you can do it as long as you want, and you can actually kind of awkwardly vault to the side and climb like this. And if you use the combat Insect Glaive Silkbind to leap forward, you can get some height and you can actually climb with this. Not that useful in any real way, but certainly a strange and different mechanic. And it certainly makes up for the lacking Rise update for the Insect Glaive. Right, guys? Right, guys? Meanwhile, the Gunlance destroys the Glaive with its meme-worthy flying. By jumping and then firing off those shells, you can trigger this aerial hop effect, keeping you in the air if you delay it. But as you can see, if you just spam out these shots, you actually go up and up and up and higher and higher and higher. With all the shots that we can do, we can actually get pretty high up. And then at the peak, you can use your Silkbind attack to not only reload and do the attack coming down, but blast the enemy with the huge finisher of that hail cutter. Insect Glaive aerial hops? Nah. Gunlance explosive hops. I could easily imagine myself doing this against any flying type in the full game from a nearby ledge. Even a small one like this can work and you get serious height. So actually, you know what? In demo, you could do this to Rathian and knock her out the air. But let's stop talking about weapon-specific stuff for a second and mention those new bombs. If you're unaware, you can now yeet barrel bombs from the air, which can in fact bypass the limit of the 2 that you would place on the ground. So you can throw these over and over from up high. This means we're able to wake up monsters with even more barrel bomb explosive damage, and is ideally done by pre-placing our 2 bombs as usual by, say, a sleeping monster, then using the 3rd one to trigger the first hit and the explosion from the air. The math gets exciting when we start to think about what we can do in the full game with a full group of hunters and when we have access to our actual resources. Maybe up to 40 mega barrel bombs at once on a poor sleeping monster. Yes, I have a full video about that on the channel now if you want to learn more, but a little shout out to the mini barrel bombs we can now throw kind of casually in combat, which I absolutely love. They do surprisingly good damage at 20 a pop, and you can throw off a lot of these at once. Another effect of the new bombs thrown from the air is how it actually extends your airtime briefly while regenerating your wire bugs, which does allow for some huge airtime if you want it. I did a little challenge where I pretended the floor was lava and crossed the entire map from top to bottom without touching the floor. It's not so useful for combat, but it's pretty cool that it's possible. But enough about air tricks. What about improved melee bow gameplay? Yes, melee bow gameplay. While in previous games we certainly had various melee attacks, like say the leaping arrow hits or single arrow hits, we now have access to a whopping 2-hit arrow combo. Incredible! More interesting, however, though, is this is actually legit, guys. Arrow coatings finally actually apply to melee arrow hits now. Because of that, the damage is legit. If you have a power coating on, or a close range coating, even better, we're seeing numbers of around 40 or up to 50 with just these little hits. Solid damage and genuinely a legitimate way to pump out an extra hit here or there when near a monster between your regular shots. Amazingly, this doesn't consume the actual coating either because you haven't fired the arrow. You just slap them with it. Pretty useful. Team Darkside has already uploaded a melee bow only run against an Izuchi and it was shockingly effective. So yeah, start smacking monsters with those arrows whenever you get a chance. Speaking of improved mechanics though, I want to talk about the SNS, which lost a very nice detail in World. During basic combos, you could casually turn around and swing and it'd be really nice for effective positioning in mid-combat. Sadly, that's not really a thing in Rise anymore for some reason, but there is a way around it you might not know. The spinning Reaper attack has a unique effect of letting you turn and reposition your character during swings. All you need to do to trigger this is press X and A at the same time to trigger spinning Reaper, but ideally you want to do this mid-combo because it'll interrupt whatever combo you're currently doing and do the Reaper attack, and during that you can suddenly turn and aim it. Very useful to know as an SNS player if you ask me, because now we can't can't turn around normally, you'll need to make use of the Spinning Reaper to turn suddenly if a monster repositions during a combo. It also does pretty damn good damage if you use it as a finisher at the end of a combo, but you can't turn when you do it that way. Next up, there's one thing we're seeing a lot of right now because everyone's practicing their speedruns. It's something to do with the new Wyvern Riding mechanic. When you deal enough special damage to trigger that Wyvern Ride, the monster will stagger, and then you can activate that ride with another hit. That stagger or stun lasts an insane amount of time. So long, in fact, that you have enough time to fully sharpen a weapon and do any extra prep you want. Ideally, hitting the monster to trigger the ride with the biggest hit possible or the most useful effect. Right now, we're all testing the best way our various weapons can trigger this, but the longsword is obviously a great example. If you trigger the ride with the EI slash to generate spirit gauge, it'll actually generate that spirit while you're mid-riding the monster. This is a really nice little plus to maximize your gameplay, and that's something that's really important when you're attempting a speedrun, which as longsword players, we're kind of the kings of speedrun times right now. No big deal. Have you guys found any good ways to wake up a monster that give you benefits like that? Moving on though, if you aren't aware, yeah, slide attacks are a bit of a thing of the past in Rise. This is a bit of a surprise change I didn't see coming, but when you think about it, it's fair enough, right? Slide attacks are an important thing in World since we can't set up our own air attacks unless the environment allows it, usually with a ledge or a ramp to slide down. In Rise, we have our wire bugs, which allow us to leap into the air and perform those various aerial attacks without the need for environment, ledges, or slides. However, it does feel weird to not have them, but luckily, one weapon still does. The hammer, for some reason, somehow maintains the ability to slide attack should you desire it. By just charging up an attack, you can still do the usual slide attack with all those flips, which is still incredibly effective. It is strange that only this one made it through, but it's certainly nice to have for the hammer because that spin is so good. Maybe the other maps will have more slides available since, you know, these ruins don't really have many, but I guess we'll wait and see. Lastly though, another useful thing for someone who uses charged up attacks like say Greatsword or Hammer, we can get ourselves a nice charged hit from a Palamute sprinting dismount, but you might not know that you can actually double jump from this. By pressing ZR and then B, we can hop off the back of the Palamute even higher for a nice double jump and a nice 2-charge plunging hit. Or go even further and climb a wall near your target monster. Even mid-fight, you could use a wire bug or dismount from a Palamute and get running up a wall, and then get a nice powerful triple charge for great effect. Personally, I really like wall running, and using it in combat where possible just feels awesome, so I hope we find more ways to make it more relevant in hunting. But anyway, there's a quick video for a bunch of cool tricks you can do in Rise with various weapons and other mechanics. If there's anything new you've learned in Rise that wasn't in this video, why not drop it in a comment? You might help someone. Either way, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I'll see you next time.